let us talk a little bit about how GoIntegrations uses Zoho One itself.
When we first signed on as a partner with Zoho, our focal point was the CRM.
Pre-post pandemic, do you see has there been a market difference in the way your business functions?
A lot of the ones that pumped the brakes, reverse course and came right back, and those were the ones that we've seen have grown the most over the last 3 years.
Because they made the plunge.
Well, exactly.
Tell me something that you would ideally tell people not to do while implementing Zoho One.
It's all scoped out or mapped out at the beginning. It makes it so much easier to go through. And if there are changes that have to happen along the way, it's easy to, address, adapt, and move forward.
Hello and welcome to Partner Chronicles, hosted by Zoho One. Today, we have Derek Fitzpatrick from GoIntegrations with us. I'm sure it's going to be an interesting and engaging conversation with him. So without giving too much away, and I really don't want to talk about him, so I'm going to let him talk about him and his business. So Derek, go ahead and introduce yourself and your business for us.
Yes, hello. Yes, as Sangeeta mentioned, my name is Derek Fitzpatrick with GoIntegrations. I am president and co-founder of the company. We have been a Zoho partner for the last 7 years.
Okay.
We originally started with our focus on the CRM and then moved into the Zoho One plan.
Yeah.
Our company has two divisions. We have an integration division where we focus on e-commerce and ERP integrations, a lot of which to Zoho.
Yeah.
And we also have our Zoho division, which handles all development and implementations, customer service and support, and everything in between.
Yeah.
I myself have been in this industry doing software consulting and implementation for 17 going on 18 years now. Along the way, we started getting clients asking about this product called Zoho and what was it.
Yeah.
And so after a few times of hearing the same name, I decided to take a look at it, and lo and behold, 7 years later, we're a partner and happy with it. We made the plunge.
That's very impressive, Derek. What do you think, there might not be one answer for this, but I would nevertheless ask this question. What do you think is the addressable market that GoIntegrations deals with, even if you want to talk about your the subsidiary brand too? Let's talk about that.
I think the most common customer base or industry that we focus on would probably be wholesale distribution. Some of that admittedly has to do with some of the integration solutions and existing network of customer base that I've gained over the years, even prior to Zoho, that we have been able to successfully migrate. A lot of them had been or are currently in the distribution. So whether that be soft goods, whether that be consumables, whether that be something that revolves or requires servicing after the fact, that would be one of our main focuses.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a number of clients in manufacturing as well, both heavy manufacturing and light. It's that one actually has a very unique usage for CRM, sign, marketing, etc., because of sometimes the complexity of their sales process. Traditional CRMs or CRMs that are built into large-scale ERPs don't tend to have the necessary capacity. So it's a definite opportunity for something like Zoho, which has the depth and scalability of it. And then we also work a fair bit with software companies. Just due to the nature of Zoho, the fact that Zoho themselves use their own platform, or we would like to refer to as they eat their own dog food. It's a great testament when talking with companies and they say, well, how scalable is it? I'm like, you can, if you can have 13,000 staff and run the business and 75 plus million global users, I'm sure your business will be just fine. So those are, some of, but I guess if I had to kind of break it down, would probably some of the more specific areas we've seen some traction and some focus, and I think we're going to put some more effort, into the future as well.
Makes a lot of sense. So even internally, like you mentioned, we work, Zoho works in Zoho. We love to say that because we are kind of proud of it. Because our CEO mentions if you expect users to use your product, you need to know how to use it yourself.
Yeah.
So we go through every kind of curvature through the beginning of the product, being probably internal beta testers. And so that's how we and our developers tend to improve the product over time. The more you use it, the more you improve.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, with our sister company, we do sell for a number of vendors, and it's not shocking, but it is a little bit telling that a lot of them end up not using just their own platforms. Like they either have grown too big for their own platforms, or are reaching out to external, utilities and components like MS Teams or Zoom or something like that to try to leverage certain elements that have become critical in the day-to-day.
Yes.
So I mean, those are obviously huge selling features and massive benefits of using Zoho when everything can come in-house.
Thank you so much. So before we get into how you pitch Zoho One, where Zoho One really stands out in the market that you and your team deal with, let us talk a little bit about how GoIntegrations uses Zoho One itself. Where did you begin? How did you scale up? I would love to see the way you guys did that.
Yeah. So when we first signed on as a partner with Zoho, our focal point was the CRM. That was
yes.
And admittedly, it is one of Zoho's primary.
It's
products.
one of our most matured and best product out there. It's
absolutely,
it's one of those building blocks.
Exactly. I mean, it's gone through its battles and it's bulletproof. So we started with that was one of the main focuses, one of the main items we started with. Now, when we first signed on, we were actually using Act at that point because I was still a reseller of that product and had been for over 10 years.
Okay.
And like most people, change is kind of hard.
Absolutely.
But one of the biggest things, the drivers immediately to make that change was the ability to do automation that I didn't have, the better email integration option. But then the last thing was the mobility.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of sales on the road, visiting clients, having meetings, doing follow-ups, etc. I mean, obviously not so much over the last 3 years, but at the first, for the first little bit, and the problem I was having was I didn't have anything that was going to efficiently allow me to log everything that was happening, or even rather just talk back with the office, right? The collaboration tool. So that actually was one of the biggest driving forces. Was actually we needed a mobile option. We needed something that was going to give us that capacity. Me selfishly more than anything. So that made us make the decision. And when I say us, I mean me make the decision for the team that we were going to switch to Zoho. And it's been a fantastic switch. And I mean, it's been a great platform to work on. And I mean, for where we are today, I don't foresee that ever changing.
Tell me your top 5 products. I know one of them is CRM.
Yeah.
Other 4.
So within our team, we try to keep it light. Right now, the critical operational pieces would be CRM, obviously, desk, projects, books, and we also use subscriptions. For some of the integration services,
an interesting one.
For some of the integration services that we offer, we do use the subscriptions piece as well. My team would probably be in either CRM, desk, or projects almost all day long. I didn't mention Click only because it's baked into all the products. Albeit, I would have to say that without Click, it would have been a very big struggle over the last 3 years.
It's like a service layer that runs through all our applications.
Exactly. Like I don't mention it because, not to say that it's not discounted, but it's just common sense. It's just a foregone conclusion that we end up using it, right? So, I mean, that hand in hand with meetings, and then obviously Zoho Mail. So you asked for 5, I give you 8, but at the end of the day, meetings, Click, and mail are all kind of
the collaboration apps that are like no-brainers that we use every day too.
Exactly, right? So, I mean, I guess we talk about, or I like to look at the apps that we're using as like, again, the CRM, the desk, projects, books, subscriptions,
That's completely, you have the best ones there.
There we go.
Best ones out there.
There we go.
Okay. Has Zoho One, say, we don't even have to really talk about the pandemic, but pre-post pandemic, do you see, has there been a marked difference in the way your business functions with Zoho One or without Zoho One, or pre-pandemic, post-pandemic? Do you see a difference in the way the world of business is working now?
Yes, we definitely do see or have seen a change to how businesses are operating between pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, and right through the middle of it. For us, because we were already fully drinking the Zoho Kool-Aid, right? If we want to keep throwing out analogies.
Very interesting way of putting it.
It actually was a very easy shift for us, like that day. I remember it because I was at home trying to get the kids out the door to get to school, and saw the announcement come through online about, they're going into lockdown. So for us and our staff at that point, we had some interns working with us as well as our staff that are with us now. We just sent out one massive click message on our group channel and said, don't come into the office. We'll be online in 30 minutes. And that was literally our pivot. That was it. Everyone was already using all the cloud-based apps. So it wasn't like, okay, scramble to find some way of connecting remotely with your computer at the office and, bringing home files. There was none of that.
Exactly.
Everything was stored in WorkDrive. Everything was, accessible online. So, when we talk to clients, some of which who obviously weren't that, set up, I explained that pivot for us. And, some of them were just like, wow.
It's a good case study to talk about. It's a practical story. Right?
Exactly. We were, that quickly just to be able to kind of, and you're on, you're basically, working from home.
Yes.
Not a lot of companies were that lucky, but we did see that we had a lot of companies that were just about to sign contracts or had just signed contracts with us to get started, who decided to pull back and just wait it out. But then as it went from a couple of days into a couple of weeks, we ended up seeing, a number of them turn around like, you know what, we need this because we can't limp along, with these Band-Aid solutions. We need something that's a little bit more consolidated. So a lot of the ones that, pumped the brakes, reversed course and came right back. And those were the ones that we've seen have grown the most over the last 3 years.
Because they made the plunge.
Well, exactly. And have come out the strongest. And for some of them have actually become like kind of leaders in their markets because of it, right? They invested in times when everyone else decides not to. Because like when we talk with clients, at the end of the day, I always say, you don't wake up in the morning and say you want to buy software. Right? No one does, right?
That's true.
That's true. But you realize you need it. And if you do need it, it's, there's a reason behind that. And you're not going to, kind of continue on this or make that purchase unless you can prove that, it's going to better you.
It's very difficult to market software.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's easy to market tactile products. You can showcase the way it looks. You can, make it impressive because it's a product that people can touch and feel.
Yes.
And software is lurking at the back end, right? You might not be able to do anything without it, but like you said, you don't get up in the morning and think, oh, today I'm going to buy this software.
No.
It's not like that. So reiterating, it's almost impossible to sell software. And we all have to get creative. And the only way probably to sell software or to market a software is by showcasing what it does for you in your everyday business.
Oh, absolutely. And I think actually when I was getting certified in ACT, the trainer at that point, and I was still kind of getting used to the whole concept, one thing he said that still stuck with me, it's he was talking about the first implementation he ever did and the most successful implementation he ever did was one where one of the staff members came up afterwards and said, "You were here?" Because it went so seamlessly, right? And if you think about it, it's like, it can feel deflating, but at the same time, so when we look at the whole Zoho plan, we tend to go in with a focus on a couple of pieces that, we want them to use and that the customer is identified as a problem. But the conversation quickly changes to not just I'm looking for CRM and oh great, I got all these other these other pieces. It's ultimately, oh wait, I'm not just looking for a CRM anymore. I'm actually looking for a business solution. And a lot of times that happens or that gets brought up or realized organically by the customer just after kind of some questions and well timed and well pointed questions that start to look at the other pieces of their system.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, also too, Zoho One's not the right fit for everyone. If somebody is just looking for something for their half dozen sales team, but the rest of the office isn't using anything and they have no issue or desire to, then to go down the path of Zoho One's not a useful, it's not a viable solution. But for a lot of companies, it is more of a, okay, we have all these divisions. What are we trying to do? And that's also where we try to sit down and understand what do they use? And there's 6 elements of a business, marketing, sales, customer service, operations, finance, HR, and then IT. Now, luckily with the last one, a lot of times Zoho handles that because it's cloud-based. Yeah. But, talking through those pieces helps you, put together the solution they need immediately, but also helps them open their eyes to the idea that, oh, wait, we don't do marketing. I don't have anything tracking my web visitors. Yeah. My customer service team is using a shared email and they're constantly, trying to figure out who responded to who and stuff. So that's how we kind of end up looking at Zoho One. And
in the larger scheme of things, we have 45 plus offerings in the Zoho One suite itself. And as you already mentioned, it is a positive thing and it probably also gets overwhelming if it's not done well or probably not done in phases. So how do you control the outcome, Derek, of, like you mentioned, we do not want customers to be kids in a candy store and pick out everything. Okay, I would love to use this. And because all of us, I guess, are curious to use new products and see how it's going to work. So do you have like a strategy or the way you go about it to control the outcome of how Zoho One is implemented?
So a lot of times what we try to do is, again, if we sit down and it's not a unique scenario of something for sales or something for customer service, but of the business and the business suite, then by understanding that whole process at the beginning and getting a better insight into what they're trying to do, what it then allows is for us to then outline to the customer, hey, listen, you're going to need this app, this app, this app, and this app. And as we're all aware, there's a couple of different approaches to the same problem to give you the same, to give you a solution with the apps available in Zoho. So it's trying to pick the best one. And some of our clients who are more decisive will give them option A, option B, and just, they choose. Some of them don't even want that. They just, okay, I've told you what my problem is. You tell me what I need. Yeah. And then we just kind of decipher that and put it together. But in either case, the best way to avoid a lot of that overload is really to look at putting that game plan together at the beginning and cautioning, albeit sometimes not even telling them how easy it is to install an application to avoid some of that. Hey, I just installed these 5 apps. What are they doing?
Becomes a hassle.
Exactly, right? Because then we're running around trying to figure out what they turned on and how that immediately connected with this, and data is flowing back and forth that shouldn't be. So it just becomes there's a little bit of that, right? Kind of hand-holding or guidance in that process.
So that's where partners like you come in for the definite guidance.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll have customers call and be like, I've been using Zoho One. I signed up for Zoho One and I'm trying to figure out how to connect CRM with finance because I want to see my invoices. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's not just that. It's they want to see that flow because the sales team needs to know how to create an estimate and then turn it into a invoice. But in between, there's a sales order, which is Zoho inventory, and so there's all kinds of pieces in that. So there is definitely a little bit of a tour guide, if you will, through the Zoho One maze of apps.
That's a nice way to put it.
To try and understand what's the best ones and Yeah.
Zoho One calls itself the operating system for business, where you can run your business end to end, front end, back end, and everything smoothly. As a person who uses, sells, talks about Zoho One, implements Zoho One, recognizes the gaps and the flows of Zoho One, understands the platform so well, do you resonate with this line of it being the operating system for business?
Yes, for the most part, I do agree.
Yeah.
Because, when we talk about the marketing department, the sales department, customer service, even operations, these are all areas that, with the offerings available within Zoho One and how they tie together, it becomes a very seamless and fluid, deployment. The one area that can become a bit of a question mark is sometimes on the finance side.
Yeah.
Right. Zoho Finance is great. It's constantly improving.
Yeah.
We're seeing improvements and updates on that platform faster than a lot of other softwares. But that's just also how Zoho, invests their money.
Yeah.
But again, maybe it's just due to some of the customer base and the segments we deal with. But sometimes for some of our clients, they're using it for every department except for accounting.
Yeah.
Right. That's where integrations come into play, because they need to utilize a stronger inventory management. They have certain costing components they have to handle. Their manufacturers, so they need MRP. There's elements here that sometimes go beyond. But in each of those cases, there still is. In each of those situations, there still is a case to be made for Zoho One, because it handles all those other pieces. Right.
Yeah.
It's just accounting is just that one element that's just there, or the strange child in the family that has to be on the outskirts. But otherwise, for the most part, we have a lot of clients that actually utilize everything, including the finance, and it works out very well for them. It just, if there is ever one piece that sometimes is excluded, it would be the accounting. But that I think would be, it should not become or come as a shock a lot of times, because accounting can become quite difficult.
Definitely. And I think our accounting teams also do find it quite challenging, because every region, every state has different accounting laws, and what the government states, sometimes state laws. So the team is hard at work at the back end. I'm sure you see the result here.
Yes.
And it's probably a continuous improvement that's going to have to keep happening for the finance suite of products. Derek, you're full of analogies and I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. Let's probably move on to almost the last part of our discussion. So we heard a lot about implementation, the processes, and how you and your team deal with it and go about with it. Tell me something that you would ideally tell people not to do while implementing Zoho One. A few things off the top of your head.
Yeah, more than a few.
Okay,
but
if anything is funny, please go ahead.
So I guess first things first is not going in with a proper statement of work or plan is in place. And I say that one through trial and error and learning the hard way. If it's all scoped out or mapped out at the beginning, it makes it so much easier to go through. And if there are changes that have to happen along the way, it's easy to, address, adapt, and move forward. Where we kind of go, in a more loose approach and say, okay, fine, what are you looking for this week? It can kind of spiral quickly. So when looking at implementations and kind of going through it, it is the more that you can control and maintain and define up front, which, I realize should be pretty much that should be an obvious one, but can sometimes get lost, especially when you get customers who are very excited to get on board. If they're very excited, they want to get started, and it's okay, fine. Let's do this. When can we start? And they want to start tomorrow, or in some cases they say yesterday. You get that high from the sale that you're just like, okay, let's do this. And you kind of jump in without really kind of doing your due diligence. So that would probably be the number one is to really try to make sure that that's all mapped out and that, it's all, everything's defined. I guess the other thing is to do things kind of in stages, which kind of feeds off the first one. So if we are able to kind of look at it, we do want to make sure that there is a method to the madness, and that things are getting rolled out in certain phases, usually by what's most critical and what has to immediately change, and phasing things in as you go, whether that be within the same project, in a longer time frame. It doesn't matter, but in either case, it's not trying to implement like 4 different applications simultaneously and trying to integrate them, because things are going to clash, things are going to crash. So it is trying to, control that. There's many other things that you could probably say.
Probably these are like chain reactions. Each of these will kind of feed into the other, because all of it is like a process, right?
Absolutely.
Towards the end of our discussion, tell me a little bit about how do you maintain long-lasting relationships with your customers? I know it's a very vague thing of me to ask, but I'm sure you have something for me to listen to.
Alcohol and blackmail. That's usually the best way. No, kidding.
I did not see that going.
No, it's actually that's an area that we are actively looking to improve upon right now. Because again, going back to the whole concept of sales and trying to get in and the high of making a sale, and then the excitement of it, you're just trying to constantly just keep acquiring.
Yes.
That sometimes can neglect the older customers, the ones that have been with you for a while. And so it is an area that we've realized. And over the last about 8 months, we have made a pivot and started to go back to a lot of our clients and review and re-engage and really make sure that they're using the system to the best of their ability, right? So to maintain those long-term customers, it is, talking what I mentioned earlier, it is, as you're putting that solution together and sitting down with management, trying to understand and kind of establish those measurable, those metrics of to what is this success? What would they define as this being a successful decision, a successful plan? And then on a regular basis, checking in, doing that review, doing that reevaluation with them to ensure that their goals and their plans are still in alignment with what we originally discussed, and is the team going in that right direction? So we've started to look more at that, and that kind of goes beyond just Zoho as a platform and more of just a consulting component, which is something that we've started to do more of. And I've got some people that we that work with me that can do that type of engagement. And then I also have and we're starting to get more into that like customer success kind of element, right, to make sure that people are utilizing it. Because more often than not, we call and we're wondering about this desk thing, or we're trying to get into marketing, and our marketing people have told us to look at MailChimp or whatever, and how do we integrate that? Well, before we do that, how do we talk about Zoho campaigns or what about marketing automation? So
because you're already in the system, and
exactly. I mean, it is a valuable area for for partners for extra work, right, and consulting engagement, and then for the customers to figure out ways to just, again, fully maximize that ROI, that return on their investment that they made in the Zoho platform to begin with. So it's really, I see it as a win-win for both sides. And, again, it's an area that we are definitely having to put more of a focus on. Because from just the last little while of doing it, we've seen some great returns in it, and re-engaging with customers that haven't been lost, but we haven't talked to in a while. And and it's important to do that, both from just the personable level, but also from the professional standpoint too.
Thank you, Derek. I think it's maintaining relationships. It's probably most challenging of every part of the business. It has been a day of analogies.
Too many.
Good conversations and analogies. And I kept calling Derek, Fitzgerald, and I'm sorry about that, but it's Derek Fitzpatrick. I know it now. All right. Thank you, Derek, so much for taking out time for us. It has been a splendid conversation. with you. And for all our listeners out there, thank you so much for taking out time from your schedules and staying with us till the very end. Please do not forget to follow us on YouTube, Partner Chronicles, hosted by Zoho One. We would also be in audio platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Till next time, I'll bring you more guests and stay tuned. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Take care.